Calydon was a prosperous kingdom. King Oeneus, its ruler, was a kind and just man. One year the harvest was bountiful. Grains filled the silos, fruits weighed down the branches, and the people rejoiced. Yet, in his moment of prosperity, King Oeneus made a grave mistake. He forgot to offer a sacrifice to Artemis, the goddess of the hunt. Artemis was fierce and vengeful. She would not tolerate being ignored. Artemis, in her wrath, unleashed a terrible beast upon Calydon, a monstrous boar. Larger than any bull, with tusks like sharp swords and a hide that defied any spear, the Calydonian boar was the embodiment of her fury. It rampaged through the fields, destroying everything in its path. Crops were trampled, orchards were ruined, and the air was filled with the terrified cries of the people. The once bountiful land was now scarred with destruction. King Oeneus was utterly devastated. He realized his grave mistake and sought to appease Artemis. But the goddess remained completely unmoved. The boar continued its relentless rampage, and the king knew he needed help. So he sent out a desperate call for the bravest heroes of Greece, promising the boar's hide as a reward to whoever could slay the beast. From all corners of the land, heroes answered Oeneus's call. Each was renowned for their strength, skill, and courage. There was Jason, the leader of the Argonauts, famed for his quest for the Golden Fleece, Theseus, the slayer of the Minotaur, the twins Castor and Pollux, and many more. However, among these heroes stood a woman, Atalanta, the huntress. Raised by bears and as swift as Artemis herself, she was unmatched in her skill with the bow and arrow. Section 5. The hunt begins into the forest. The heroes, assembled and ready, set out into the dark and forbidding Calydonian forest. Each warrior was a master of their craft, handpicked for this perilous mission. They knew the dangers that lay ahead, but their resolve was unshakable. The forest loomed before them, an ancient and untamed wilderness that had claimed many lives before. The air was thick with anticipation and the smell of damp earth. Every step they took was measured, every sound amplified in the eerie silence of the forest. The mist clung to the ground, swirling around their feet like ghostly tendrils. It was as if the forest itself was alive, watching their every move. They moved as one, their weapons at the ready. Shields were held high and spears pointed forward, their eyes scanning the dense foliage for any sign of movement. The camaraderie among them was palpable. They trusted each other with their lives. Each warrior knew their role, and they communicated with silent gestures, honed through years of training and countless battles. The boar, sensing their presence, let out a deafening roar that shook the very trees. The hunt was on. This was no ordinary boar, it was the Calydonian boar, a beast of legend, sent by the gods themselves to ravage the land. Its eyes glowed with a malevolent intelligence, and its tusks were as sharp as any blade. The heroes spread out, trying to surround the beast. They knew that to face it head-on would be suicide. Instead, they aimed to outmaneuver it, to use their wits and their skill to bring it down. The forest was their battleground, and they moved with the precision of a well-oiled machine. Its tusks flashed dangerously, ripping through the undergrowth as it charged. The ground trembled beneath its weight, and the warriors braced themselves for the onslaught. This was the moment they had trained for, the moment that would test their mettle and their courage. The clash between man and beast was inevitable, and the outcome uncertain. But one thing was clear. The hunt had truly begun. Section 6. Atalanta's arrow finds its mark. The heroes fought bravely, their spears and swords clanging against the boar's thick hide. But the beast was relentless, its fury amplified by the taste of blood. Just when all hope seemed lost, Atalanta took aim. With a swift release, her arrow soared through the air, finding its mark in the boar's shoulder. The beast roared in pain, its movements momentarily slowed. Section 7. Meleager's triumph, Artemis's fury. Seeing his chance, Meleager, the young prince of Calydon and the one who had gathered the heroes, charged forward. He had been waiting for this moment, the culmination of days of relentless pursuit and strategic planning. The boar, a monstrous creature sent by the goddess Artemis to ravage the lands of Calydon, had eluded them time and again, but now it was within his reach. With a mighty thrust of his spear, he pierced the boar's heart. The spear, crafted by the finest blacksmiths in the land, found its mark with unerring precision. The boar's eyes widened in shock and pain, its massive body convulsing as the life force drained from it. The beast let out one final, earth-shuddering roar before collapsing to the ground, dead. Victory was theirs. The heroes who had fought bravely alongside Meleager erupted in cheers. They had faced a creature of legend and emerged victorious. The air was thick with the scent of blood and sweat, but also with the sweet aroma of triumph. But the wrath of Artemis was not so easily appeased. The goddess of the hunt, known for her fierce temper and unwavering pride, had not sent the boar merely as a test of strength. It was a punishment, a divine retribution for the neglect of her altars by the people of Calydon. She observed the hunt, her anger simmering. From her vantage point in the heavens, she had watched every move, every strike, and every drop of blood spilled. Her eyes, usually calm and calculating, now burned with a fiery rage. The death of the boar was not the end she had envisioned. She had not intended for the beast to fall by a woman's hand. Atalanta, the swift-footed huntress, had been the first to wound the boar, drawing its blood and weakening it for Meleager's final blow. This act of bravery and skill by a mortal woman was an affront to Artemis, who prided herself on being the protector of women and the wild. Her fury was now directed not just at the people of Calydon, but at the heroes who had dared to defy her will. Section 8. Discord among the victors. The heroes rejoiced, their loud cheers echoing through the forest. Meleager, as was his right, claimed the boar's hide as a trophy. However, he had been deeply impressed by Atalanta's courage and skill. He believed she truly deserved the honor. He presented the hide to her, sparking outrage among some of the other heroes, who believed a woman should never receive such an honor. Section 9. The Curse of the Necklace. This tale is one of tragedy, betrayal, and the inescapable grip of fate. It begins with a beautiful necklace, a symbol of both love and doom. Among those angered were Meleager's uncles. They were not just upset, they were furious, their hearts burning with indignation. The necklace had become a catalyst for their rage, a spark that ignited old grudges and new conflicts. They argued bitterly, their pride wounded. The air was thick with tension, each word a dagger aimed at the other's heart. Their voices rose, echoing through the halls, a cacophony of anger and resentment. Meleager, in a fit of rage, struck them down. His actions were swift and brutal, driven by a fury that blinded him to the consequences. The ground was stained with the blood of kin, a tragic testament to his uncontrollable wrath. Althea, Meleager's mother, upon hearing of her brother's deaths, was overcome with grief and anger. Her sorrow was profound, a deep well of pain that seemed to have no bottom. Her heart ached with the loss of her brothers, and her soul burned with the desire for retribution. The fates had given her a prophecy at Meleager's birth. His life was tied to a burning log. This prophecy had always loomed over her, a dark cloud that never dissipated. She had lived in constant fear of its fulfillment, always aware of the fragile thread that held her son's life. She had snatched it from the fire, preserving his life. In that moment, she had defied fate, seizing control of her son's destiny. The log had been a symbol of hope, a promise of life that she had fiercely protected. Now, consumed by vengeance, she cast the log back into the flames. Her actions were driven by a complex mix of emotions: love, hate, sorrow, and anger. As the log burned, so did her heart, torn between the loss of her brothers and the impending doom of her son. The flames danced, a cruel reminder of the prophecy that had come full circle, sealing Meleager's fate. Section 10. A Mother's Love, a Hero's Fall. As the log burned, so too did Meleager's life force. He felt his strength draining away, his victory turning to ash in his mouth. He cursed the day he was born, and breathed his last breath. Althea, realizing the horror of what she had done, took her own life in remorse. The victory over the boar was now a hollow one, overshadowed by loss and sorrow. Section 11. Echoes of the Hunt. The Calydonian Boar Hunt serves as a stark reminder of the power of the gods and the consequences of human pride and rage. It speaks of bravery, yes, but also of the fine line between vengeance and justice. The echoes of that fateful hunt, the bravery of Atalanta, the tragic fate of Meleager, and the terrible price of a goddess's wrath, continue to resonate through the halls of Greek mythology.